Hey, what's up, guys? Happy Friday. Hope everyone's doing well and collecting hard. All right. So, we are a few days away from the next American Women's Series quarter release, and you're looking at it right here, right now. Excuse me. So we have the 2022 P. Nina Otero Warren. This is the fourth installment out of five for this year. And we're going to talk a little bit about the coin, the design, and the thing that I guess you guys are probably looking forward to is kind of an error slash variety predictor. What do we got to look for when we're opening these rolls? Now, the U.S. Mint, and we'll see this here momentarily, will be releasing out their product for this release on Tuesday, August 16th. All right, which generally coincides with the actual release of the coin into circulation. So your banks are going to receive them. The banks that get product directly from the Fed Reserve Bank will more than likely be the new quarter. Now, not all banks are going to be the beneficiary of some new stuff. There are certain banks, and I know a few of you out there listening in right now, you probably have your banks already that you trust in some of the new product that does come out, which is why a lot of folks that go out there and they headhunt for these new quarter rolls, there are a number of people that actually have the coins on day one, and they are being circulated. They're being resold online. We're going to talk again about that. But you got to know, and if you've talked to enough tellers and branch managers, you'll know your banks that will receive these coins on day one. Now, will that be Monday, the 15th? Will it be Tuesday, Wednesday? Kind of hard to say because, again, the actual release of the U.S. Mint store products, of the bags, the rolls, and things like that, generally fall maybe 1 or 2 days close to what the actual release is of the quarter. So anytime this week, I would venture to guess, would be a good time to go to your bank and kind of prime the pump a little bit and see if you could find out if you are going to be receiving any of these at your local branch. All right, so the design on this particular one right here looks pretty close and similar to the Wilma Mankiller in a sense that there is some crowding going on with some text and things like that, and it's a very restrained looking design. I would say it's not one that is going to blow you away, much like some other ones that I've seen in the last 2 decades. But all in all, I think it's a very clean design. But there are certainly a few things to be on the lookout for. But if I may, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about some of the errors and varieties that we have seen come out through the first 3 releases. This series of quarter has been absolutely loaded with all sorts of errors, and people have been capitalizing on that, reselling them, putting together sets, doing progression sets of some of these crazy errors, and it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun for a lot of folks. It's been a virtual treasure hunt of sorts for a lot of folks. And I do know of a number of people that have taken advantage of this opportunity to pick up these coins to resell, especially in full roll form, when you could easily double your profit or double face a $10 roll. People have been selling for between $20 and $25, $30, sometimes a little bit higher than that. People are making money. And this one right here, I would assume is going to be the same thing. It's going to be the same thing. We're going to see more crazy errors pop out on this particular quarter. And I can't wait. If I'm not going to find any for myself, some of you probably can find it, and I could share it in your victors. So you will see Philadelphia and Denver minted coins released into circulation this week. Philadelphia coins, I would say, are going to be distributed anywhere east of the Mississippi River. Okay, that's kind of like the boundary that I use. Now, there are certain areas that receive Denver coins. like in Ohio, Michigan, a few states like that, where normally you would think, well, we're technically closer to the East Coast, therefore we should see more P minted coins. Well, it really depends. It really depends on the actual Fed Reserve Bank closest to your area and how their distribution model looks. So I would say reach out to as many banks as you possibly can. If you are on the outside kind of looking in, all right, and you're saying, well, I've been to a bank and, they don't receive any of these, you're not trying hard enough, all right? This is more than just going to 1 to 2 banks. You need to call all of them. You need to go to the next town east and you need to call them as well. Because the only way that you're going to be successful is if you start employing a little hard work and some kind of like sales calls type stuff. I know some of you are probably not a fan of doing that. Maybe you're a little introverted, like I am. It's just the success level is all dependent on how much work you put into it to find these coins. But they will certainly pay off dividends. And we've seen that through the first 3 releases. Now, just to kind of recapping what we've seen, I know I've already brought that up, but I haven't said anything. The Maya Angelou, the very first release, we've seen a few different interesting things. We've seen a die gouge that on the reverse, you can see that there's a little bird beak area. There's a die gouge, and they've referred to this as a twig die gouge or a nesting die gouge, things like that. And right off the bat, the coins were selling for around $15, $20, but have died down because come to find out they were all over the place. All right. So that was the first one that we saw. We've seen a myriad of these field restricted strike throughs on the obverse. That is on the George Washington side of the coin. And we saw that in the hair, the ponytail area. And those coins have been hot. All right. They came out of the chute running at like $40, $50 a pop. They've since cooled down to around $20, $25, but they are still worth many times more than face value. We have also seen, what else have we seen? We've also seen a pretty neat double die that was attributed. I believe there's a second one that's in the middle of attribution through Dr. Wiles. The first one, the doubled earring, is VDDR number 1. That is on his website. And that's, again, another big variety. Those have, the few that I've seen pop up, have sold around $10 to $20. Okay, again, not nothing. These are coins that if you're able to string along a number of finds, man, that's going to be a huge payday. All right, and then just reselling them online. My preferred e-commerce platform, of course, is eBay, because you're going to have a lot more people that's going to be able to have eyes on your coins. So that's the Maya Angelou. The next one was the Sally Ride. And what else can we say about the Sally Ride other than holy Die Clash Batman? The Die Clash, and I actually have one of them right here, has been one of the coolest errors that we've seen come out of the series so far. And the coin, right out of the gate, I mean, sales got up to as high as $100. There was one weird sale right around $400 that turned out to be more shill betting than anything else, trying to set the market table for that particular error. But the realistic kind of high point was $75 to $100. They've since retraced as more people have found them. And they're currently trading for between $20 and $30. Again, still a pretty nice find when you're able to, obtain them. Something to point out about the Die Clash error on these Sally Rides is that they have a couple different progressions. There's one that's a little bit more stronger where you're able to see the clashing a lot better. The lines on the clashing are a lot stronger, more defined. And then there is one where the clashing is kind of light. The stronger clashed example sells for more money, whereas the weaker clash, probably a later state as more of these are struck, it kind of flattens out the clash a little bit on the dies. Those typically command around $10. All right, I've seen some sell for a little bit less, a little bit more, but that's kind of is where the average is on that. And then finally, what else can we say? Well, on the Sally Ride, we've also seen that same strike through on the obverse, the same as the Maya Angelou. So I would assume that we're going to see more of that on possibly this quarter. We did see a few minor strike throughs on the Wilma Mankiller, but that's not the big reason why that the Wilma Mankiller might very well be the big coin with the big error for 2022. We have count them, 5 different progressions of what is a catastrophic, very terminal die state on both the obverse and reverse dies. And that's why we were able to see and witness folks finding, primarily in the southeast region of the U.S. where these things were dumped at, a number of retained cut die breaks. There was also another one with a pretty phenomenal looking reverse die crack that ends up going about halfway through the coin and then stops. But you see a lot of the things going on with that coin. If you found one that's double-sided, with the obverse retained cud and the reverse die crack, that's a huge coin. So far, the high bar of that coin has sold for over $800, and we haven't even hit what I consider to be the twilight of the annual kind of coin season or numismatic season, and that's the holidays. Will this coin hit $1,000 like I predicted? We're awfully close. I hope we get there just so I could say I'm right, because I'm not right all the time, but I'd like to be right at least once a year. So maybe we'll see that this holiday season as people come back into the hobby. But that's the big one for the Wilma Mankiller. As of right now, there hasn't been any major attributed double the dies for both the Sally Ride and the Wilma Mankiller. I think there are a couple minor ones, but nothing really kind of to write home to mother about. But we'll see. Dr. Wiles and a few of the other folks have been attributing these, and we'll see what comes out and the attribution numbers. So, wow, that was a mouthful. Now, we are back to the Nina Otero Warren, all right? So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about some of the possible things that we can find. The one thing that when I look at this design that I think would be really cool, and it could be the possibility, would be a nice, heavy clash die air. And the reason why I say that is, see how big and chunky some of the text is on the reverse of the coin? Can you imagine some of this text clashed on the obverse and some of this clean field area above the date and in front of Washington's mouth? My goodness, if we're able to find an example of a heavy die clash example of this coin, that is going to be really big in the community. That's going to be a huge find. Because when we're looking at, things like the Voto para la Mujer, okay, some of this clashed onto the obverse in that big, thick, old kind of, I forgot what the name of that particular type style is, but when we see that clashed very heavily onto the obverse die, my goodness, that's going to be huge. So that's kind of like the first thing when I look at this design is what I notice. Another thing that I did notice is the hair area and how detailed it is and how close edge it is. I could see possibly some pretty nice die chips in this area, some interior die breaks, along with maybe possibly a few kind of like die cracks that go into certain areas. See how close the hair is to some of the text. We might see like a die crack. I mean, that'd be cool. That carries into the text or from the hair to the rim, going through some of these letters here. We've seen it before in other coins where when there's crowding of a design device that goes up near the edge and then you have text, kind of like on the current Lincoln cents, the spike heads, there's not a lot of room or area between the top of Lincoln's head and to the rim. And then there's the word "we" in the motto. So, that's a weak area on the die. And then on quarters, we're going to see this a lot more because they're striking these bigger, heavier coins in comparison to the copper-coated zinc Lincoln cents. So that's another thing that I can envision seeing. Right here where you have some of this, these flowers, the foliage, again, it's crowded enough that we could possibly see a pretty sizable die chip. I mean, look at this gap right here between the foliage or the flowers and this inner rim right here. This is kind of like what the America the Beautiful quarters look like. They have the raised kind of secondary shelf that goes around the coin, and then the text is incuse in there. That's what we're going to see on this one. This text, I would assume, is going to be incused on that secondary shelf of the relief. But right here, where you have this gap, can you imagine a big enough die chip to fill up that area? It looks and appears like it could possibly be a weak spot on the die that we could see this. It should look phenomenal. The same goes for the fingers. See how complex and crossed, and you have multiple layers of relief on there. We could see something there as well. Now, considering doubled dies, the thing you gotta keep in mind with these the single squeeze process of creating the actual working dies from the working hubs, and then the actual master hubs to the master dies, things like that. That process, it's a 4-step process. A lot of the doubling is usually relegated to the very center of the coin. They call this class 9 doubling. So, you know, when we look at this design, there's a few places to keep an eye out for. Okay, the text, you know, a doubled M right here could be pretty neat, along with some doubling here on this the right side of her hair, and then possibly somewhere here on the shoulder, all right, or maybe this line that goes across here that actually has a different level relief than, say, the field area underneath this heavy text. So there's a lot of possibilities here, and then kind of revisiting some of the other stuff that we've seen through the first 3 releases. Strike through on that obverse, because the obverse die is now the actual anvil die. They've swapped it over, and then these are minted kind of differently these days. So we could possibly see a really nice die clash, some interior die breaks, because there's some really tight closed off areas on the coin, especially on the reverse. It's possible, and I don't think we're going to see another kind of like Wilma Mankiller catastrophic die failure type of situation here. I will be extremely, extremely surprised if we did see that, because I'm sure the Mint caught it, and then they're going to pay a little bit more attention to things like that. When the die breaks, shoot, that's something you got to keep an eye out for. But strike throughs on the obverse anywhere. We've seen little small type of strike throughs, some of the, you know, struck through grease ball type stuff on the first 3 releases. And I would figure a lot of the same things will follow suit. The one thing that I really want to look out for is going to be a heavy die clash on this coin. We've seen it before with the Sally Ride. And, you know, something as strong and powerful as the text clashing onto the obverse die would be the chef's kiss. Okay, and then, you know, it's not going to be, what, 6-7 weeks that the final American Women Quarter series, or the 5th one of the series, is going to come out. That's going to be sometime in October. So we're going to have the October, okay, which is kind of like the beginning of the holidays, and then throughout the rest of the year to do a lot of hunting and searching for these quarters, because they're going to be all out there. All 5 brand new 2022s in full display is going to be available for each and every single one of you for the taking. So this is what I wanted to talk about. However, there is one other thing that I did want to talk about real quick that someone had brought up. And in this particular case, someone had mentioned that, why are my brand new from the Mint 3-roll PDNS rolls dropping in price? They used to sell for right around $180 to $200 right out of the gate, right? These things have been hot. And I'll go ahead and say it. They were kind of exclusively available through the enrollment program. If you missed out on the enrollment program, you were out, okay? You can't realistically go onto the US Mint site like on Tuesday when the Nina Oteros come out, and you have the chance for the 3-roll set of PDNS. Keep in mind, the S Mint Business Strike coins are produced in limited quantities. Some are speculating about 300,000 mintage for that one coin right there, which is really low. These are produced in such limited quantities as a 3-roll set, and it's the only way that you could obtain the San Francisco minted quarters is through this purchase. But this is from June. This is from like the latter part of June. You can see here's a sale here for 200. Here's another one here for 198. Sorry, my computer is just a tad slow, like me. So we're seeing some pretty solid sales here with shipping. We're at 196. $202 here. That's with 5 bids, so that was organically bid up. 177 and some change. So that was in June, right? And then the same is for the Sally Ride and the Maya Angelou. Right out of the gate, these quarters were selling as a package for right around $200. All right, so when we go and take a look at sales today, we have $130. Okay, we have one set here for $100. But you can see that they literally just dropped in half, ladies and gentlemen. And the question is why? Well, it was really not a surprise at all because they were releasing the 3-roll sets for every single American woman. Okay, call it dilution. They're going to dilute the market with all of these quarters, and it's going to obviously affect the price. Number 2, this 3-roll set of Wilma Mankiller quarters at this point has aged. All right, the people that wanted it and are willing to pay a lot more money, they did so right from the get-go. And, it was just a matter of time that these things were going to drop to a level, where the supply and demand factor is going to kick in. These things are not going to go to face value. They're not. But they weren't sustainable at $180 to $200. So the best time to sell these is going to be through the first, I would say, 21 to 30 days upon release of each one of these American Women quarters. And as we go on through 2023, 2024, that window closes a lot tighter. Okay, you're not going to have the 3 weeks to 4 weeks to sell this at a tremendous profit. It might be the first 7 to 10 days. You're going to see that because through time, people tend to get tired of the series and they're not as heavily invested in buying these kind of like special, low mintage type of things that are being released with every single design of quarter. So that's why I wanted to talk about. Hopefully that was able to give the few people that did comment on videos on this particular subject a little bit more information, just to let you know that the sky is not falling. Just the prices are correcting to a level that is commensurate to what the actual desirability in the market is for such coins. Again, these are ultra moderns. These aren't the type of coins that personally I would hold on to, in the short term. These are hot potatoes, and you need to treat them as such. So that's what I wanted to talk about. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Get excited for the new quarter. It comes out next week, and I hope to hear some really cool discoveries out there. Make sure you let me know first, or go ahead and send us an email at our live coin Q&A. Again, that's info@livecoinqa.com. Would love to hear some of your big wins and successes with this set. And unfortunately, I'm on the West Coast. The Denver Mint hasn't really released a whole lot of what I consider favorable errors and varieties because they're just perfect, and we're not. I guess I'm going to go wallow in my own self-pity when it comes to that. But hey, I can live vicariously through you guys. Go out there, look out for these. It's going to be a lot of fun. And believe it or not, I can't wait to see what comes out of these quarter rolls straight from the bank. It's going to be exciting. Continue on crappy U.S. Mint quality, and let's see more of this. But that's going to go ahead and do it for this one. I hope you guys had a good time. Thank you again for all of the views and support through the years on my channel. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. Allergies are coming up here already. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't done that already. Please, I do want the extra support. Come check me out on TikTok as well, at BlueRidgeSilverhound. We're going to be doing more videos going into the fall season. But it's going to be it, guys. Go get them. Best of luck in your hunts. Have a great time hunting this weekend. And I will see you on the next coin video, right? All right. I'll see you.